Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Leonardo da Vinci. In a world brimming with choices, clutter, and constant stimulation, this statement by Leonardo da Vinci resonates more powerfully today than it perhaps did in his time. It leads us to a profound yet often overlooked concept: minimalism. But what exactly is minimalism, and how does it relate to our pursuit of happiness? Minimalism, in its essence, is the intentional promotion of the things we most value, and the removal of everything that distracts us from it. It's not merely a design aesthetic or a superficial decluttering exercise. It's a mindset, a way of life that encourages us to find beauty and satisfaction in simplicity. This philosophy, while seemingly modern, has roots that delve deep into various cultures and historical epochs. Its relevance has only magnified in our current age, where the excess and superficial often overshadow the meaningful and fulfilling. My journey into the realm of minimalism began not in a moment of epiphany, but through a series of realizations over time. I remember standing in my room one evening, surrounded by things I had collected over the years, books I never read, gadgets I barely used, and clothes I hardly wore. It struck me then the disproportionate amount of time and energy I had invested in acquiring and maintaining these possessions compared to the joy they brought me. This imbalance led me down a path of introspection, reading, and eventually adopting a minimalist lifestyle. It wasn't just about getting rid of stuff, it was about recalibrating my life's priorities. In this video, we will delve into the multifaceted world of minimalism. We'll start by exploring its historical roots, understanding how various cultures and philosophers over centuries have embraced simplicity and how it contributed to their sense of contentment. Eastern philosophies like Buddhism and Taoism, Western thinkers such as Epicurus and Henry David Thoreau, and even contemporary voices in the minimalist movement have all echoed similar sentiments. The less you have, the more you can focus on what truly matters. But how does this ancient wisdom hold up in the face of modern challenges? Our digital age, characterized by a constant barrage of information and material temptations, poses unique obstacles to a minimalist lifestyle. Hence, a significant part of our discussion will be dedicated to adapting minimalism in the digital era. We'll explore strategies for digital decluttering, managing technology's pervasive presence in our lives, and finding a balance that fosters well-being. Moreover, we'll discuss how minimalism can be practically integrated into various aspects of life, from our professional careers and personal relationships to the very way we perceive and engage with the world around us. It's about cultivating a mindset that values quality over quantity, experiences over possessions, and intentional living over mindless consumption. But it's not all smooth sailing. Adopting a minimalist approach comes with its set of challenges and misconceptions. One of the common myths is that minimalism is about depriving yourself, living with the bare minimum, or adhering to a strict set of rules. In this video, we'll bust these myths and discuss how to navigate the challenges that come with choosing a path less traveled, a path of minimalism. As we conclude, I'll share some final thoughts on how this journey of minimalism has influenced my life, the joy and clarity it has brought me, the sense of freedom from the unnecessary, and the peace that comes with knowing that what I own and do aligns with my deepest values. Let's embark on this exploration together. Let's discover how less can indeed be more, how simplicity can lead to sophistication, and how, in the pursuit of owning less, we might just find ourselves living more. The concept of minimalism, though seemingly a modern phenomenon, is deeply rooted in the history and philosophies of various cultures across the world. Its origins are as diverse as they are ancient, reflecting a universal human inclination towards simplicity and essence. In ancient civilizations, we find the earliest expressions of minimalist thought. The ancient Greeks, for instance, had a word for it, eukrasia, which means simplicity or good mixture. This concept was central to their philosophy, art, and architecture, emphasizing balance and harmony over excess and embellishment. Philosophers like Socrates advocated for a life focused on the development of the soul, rather than the accumulation of material wealth. His lifestyle and teachings laid the foundation for later philosophers like Diogenes and Epicurus, who further expounded on the virtues of living simply and contentedly with little. Simultaneously, in the Eastern world, similar ideas were emerging. Buddhism, with its emphasis on detachment from material desires, aligns closely with minimalist principles. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of all suffering, advocating for a life of moderation and mindfulness. Similarly, Taoism, with its principle of wu wei, or non-action, encourages a harmonious way of living that is in alignment with the natural world, free from unnecessary excess. In the monastic traditions of Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism, we also see a strong emphasis on simplicity. Monks and nuns in these religions often take vows of poverty and lead lives of minimal material possessions, focusing instead on spiritual growth and community service. This emphasis on spiritual rather than material wealth persisted through the Middle Ages, where despite the opulence of the nobility, the majority lived simply, often out of necessity rather than choice. During the Renaissance, a shift occurred as humanism and the pursuit of knowledge and artistic expression took center stage. However, this period also saw figures like Leonardo da Vinci, who despite his myriad inventions and artworks, preached the virtue of simplicity. The Reformation further challenged the excesses of the Church, with figures like Martin Luther advocating for a return to the core teachings of Christianity, free from the elaborate rituals and opulence that had come to characterize the Church. The Enlightenment era brought a renewed focus on rational thought and individualism. Philosophers like Immanuel Kant and Jean-Jacques Rousseau emphasized the importance of living in accordance with one's own principles, often advocating for a simpler, more authentic way of life. Rousseau, in particular, criticized the artificiality of society and posited that man was happiest in a state closer to nature. The Industrial Revolution marked a significant departure from these ideals as mass production and consumerism began to take hold. Yet even in this era, there were dissenting voices. The arts and crafts movement of the late 19th century, led by figures like William Morris, was a reaction against the excesses of industrialization, advocating for craftsmanship and simplicity in design. In the 20th century, minimalism began to take on its more modern form. The post-World War II era, especially in art and architecture, saw a movement towards minimalism as a response to the complexity and trauma of the war years. Artists and architects like Frank Lloyd Wright and Mies van der Rohe embraced simplicity, functionality, and the beauty of unadorned forms. This period also saw the emergence of the less is more philosophy, which has since become a mantra for the minimalist movement. Today, minimalism is often seen as a counter-movement to the rampant consumerism and digital overload of contemporary society. It's a re-emergence of ancient wisdom adapted to modern challenges, encouraging us to find fulfillment not in possessions or status, but in experiences, relationships, and personal growth. As we trace the lineage of minimalist thought from the ancient world to the present, it's clear that this philosophy is not a trend, but a timeless approach to living that has been revisited and reinvented across cultures and centuries. Its enduring appeal lies in its simplicity and universality, a call to focus on what's truly essential. As we delve deeper into the realm of minimalism, it's essential to explore the perspectives of various philosophers who have shaped the minimalist ideology. Their teachings, originating from different corners of the world, converge on the principle of simplicity and the pursuit of a meaningful life. Buddhism, one of the world's oldest philosophies, offers profound insights into minimalism. At its core, Buddhism teaches the middle way, avoiding both extreme indulgence and severe asceticism. Central to Buddhist thought is the concept of dukkha, often translated as suffering or dissatisfaction, which arises from attachment to desires and material possessions. The Buddha emphasized the impermanent nature of all things, advocating for detachment and mindfulness as paths to inner peace and enlightenment. This detachment isn't about deprivation, but about understanding the transient nature of worldly possessions and finding contentment in simplicity and the present moment. Taoism, another pillar of Eastern philosophy, also echoes minimalist principles. Its foundational text, the Tao Te Ching, written by Lao Tzu, emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao, the Way, a principle that signifies the essential, unchanging nature of the universe. Taoism advocates simplicity, spontaneity, and frugality, encouraging adherents to align their lives with the natural order of things. The concept of Wu Wei, non-action or effortless action in Taoism, is particularly relevant to minimalism. It suggests that the best way to live is by doing what comes naturally and not forcing or striving, thereby living a life of simplicity and authenticity. Moving to Western philosophy, we encounter Diogenes of Sinope, a Greek philosopher and one of the most famous figures of the cynical school. Diogenes took minimalism to an extreme, advocating for a life of extreme simplicity and rejecting all forms of luxury. He believed that virtue was better revealed in action than in theory, and he lived this belief by eschewing societal norms and living a life free from possessions. His philosophy was not just about physical minimalism, but also about challenging the unnecessary complexities of social conventions. Epicurus, another Greek philosopher, offered a different angle on minimalism. His philosophy, Epicureanism, is often misunderstood as advocating for indulgence in life's pleasures. But in reality, Epicurus promoted the idea of finding the greatest pleasure in the simplest of things. He argued that the key to happiness was to seek modest pleasures, to attain tranquility and freedom from fear, and to live in self-sufficiency. For Epicurus, minimalism was about focusing on what truly brings joy and avoiding the unnecessary desires that lead to disappointment and disturbance. In the 19th century, Henry David Thoreau, an American philosopher and naturalist, explored the concept of living simply in his seminal work, Walden. Thoreau's experiment in living in a small cabin near Walden Pond was a practical application of transcendentalist philosophy, which emphasized the importance of nature and the inherent goodness of people. He advocated for a life that was deliberate and essential, free from the clutter of unnecessary material possessions. Thoreau's reflections on simplicity and nature continue to be a significant reference point in discussions about minimalism today. In contemporary philosophy, minimalism is both advocated and critiqued. There are critiques of minimalism as a lifestyle choice, particularly in its modern commercialized form. Critics argue that minimalism, as practiced by some, can become another form of consumerism, a way to buy into a particular lifestyle that is marketed as simple, but is, in reality, another form of consumption. This critique invites a deeper reflection on the essence of minimalism and challenges us to distinguish between its authentic practice and its superficial adoption. The discussion of minimalism in contemporary thought often revolves around the role of simplicity in our increasingly complex lives. Modern minimalists argue that in a world where we are constantly bombarded with choices and information, there's a profound peace and clarity that comes from simplifying. Be it decluttering our physical spaces, streamlining our daily routines, or focusing on our most meaningful relationships and activities. Furthermore, minimalism in contemporary philosophy is often linked with the concept of mindfulness. It's seen as a way to live more consciously and deliberately, making choices that are more aligned with our values and less influenced by societal pressures or consumerist culture. This perspective sees minimalism not just as a way to reduce physical clutter, but as a tool to cultivate mental and emotional clarity. In the digital age, minimalism takes on new challenges and forms. Philosophers and thinkers are now exploring what minimalism means in the context of digital consumption. This includes ideas around digital detox, managing information overload, and the mindful use of technology. The emphasis here is on quality over quantity, not just in terms of physical possessions, but also in our digital interactions and media consumption. On the critique side, some philosophers argue that minimalism, especially in its more extreme forms, can be a privilege that not everyone can afford. The ability to choose simplicity, they argue, assumes a certain level of security and resources. This critique challenges minimalists to consider the broader social and economic context in which they practice minimalism, and to ensure that it is inclusive and accessible. As we look to the future, the conversation around minimalism is evolving to include not just individual practices, but also societal and systemic changes. Philosophers and thought leaders are beginning to explore how minimalism can inform policy, business, and community life, suggesting that the principles of minimalism could be a key to addressing some of the pressing challenges of our time, from mental health issues to environmental crises. The human tendency to form attachments to material possessions is a phenomenon deeply rooted in our psychology. This attachment often transcends the utilitarian value of the item itself and taps into our emotions, memories, and sense of identity. From the teddy bear we clung to as children to the first car we bought with our hard-earned money, possessions can become extensions of ourselves, representing our history, achievements, or even aspirations. Psychologists have explored this phenomenon extensively. One theory is that these attachments are a form of self-expression. The things we own can symbolize who we are or who we aspire to be, acting as tangible representations of our identity. Another perspective sees these attachments as a result of the endowment effect, a cognitive bias that leads people to value an object more highly once it becomes their own. Furthermore, material possessions can also serve as a form of comfort and security. In times of uncertainty or stress, familiar objects can offer a sense of stability and continuity. They can anchor us to certain memories or periods in our life, providing a psychological safety net of sorts. The sentimental value of possessions is another significant factor in our attachment to them. Items that remind us of significant people, events, or periods in our lives often hold an emotional value that far exceeds their physical worth. This can make the process of decluttering particularly challenging, as it's not just about discarding objects, but also about navigating the memories and emotions associated with them. Consumer culture also plays a crucial role in shaping our relationship with possessions. From a young age, we are bombarded with messages that equate material success with happiness and fulfillment. This constant exposure can lead to the internalization of the belief that acquiring more and better possessions is a pathway to a happier life. It fosters a cycle of desire and acquisition, where satisfaction is perpetually deferred to the next purchase. Turning to the impact of clutter and excess possessions on mental health and happiness, research has shown that there is a tangible connection between the two. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that high levels of possessions in one's living space are linked to higher levels of cortisol, a stress hormone. This suggests that living in cluttered environments can lead to increased stress and anxiety. Another body of research focusing on the concept of materialistic strivings indicates that people who place a high value on material possessions and the acquisition of wealth tend to have lower levels of life satisfaction and higher levels of distress. This is in line with the theory of hedonic adaptation, the idea that the pleasure derived from new possessions tends to be short-lived, leading to a continuous cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. Minimalism emerges as a response to these psychological dynamics. By consciously choosing to own fewer possessions, minimalists aim to break free from the cycle of desire and dissatisfaction that characterizes consumer culture. The philosophy advocates that by reducing our reliance on external sources of happiness, we can cultivate a more sustainable form of fulfillment that comes from within. The act of decluttering itself has psychological benefits. It's often associated with feelings of accomplishment and control. Clearing our physical space can lead to a clearer mind, reducing feelings of overwhelm and increasing our ability to focus. Studies in environmental psychology suggest that environments with minimal distractions are more conducive to productivity and creativity. However, the process of decluttering and detaching from possessions is not without its challenges. For many, it involves confronting deeply ingrained habits and beliefs. It requires us to examine not just our physical belongings, but also our emotional and psychological attachment to them. This process can be both liberating and daunting, as it often involves a re-evaluation of our values and priorities. Mindfulness is a key component in the minimalist approach to possessions. It involves being more deliberate about what we choose to own, asking ourselves whether each item adds value to our lives. This approach encourages us to move away from impulsive buying and towards a more thoughtful and intentional way of consuming. The philosophy of minimalism suggests that there is a certain joy to be found in owning less. This is not just about the absence of clutter, but about the presence of space that can be filled with experiences, relationships, and activities that bring genuine fulfillment. It's about creating room for what truly matters, allowing us to focus our time, energy, and resources on the aspects of life that contribute most significantly to our well-being. Minimalism also challenges the conventional definitions of success and happiness. It prompts a shift from measuring our worth by what we own to valuing ourselves for who we are and the quality of our lives. This redefinition is crucial in a world where material success is often glorified, as it allows for a more inclusive and varied understanding of what it means to live a fulfilled life. The essence of minimalism lies in its flexibility and personalization. It's a misconception that minimalism means living with the bare minimum or adhering to a strict set of rules. In reality, minimalism is about prioritizing what truly matters on an individual level. It's a personal journey that varies from one person to another, shaped by individual values, needs, and circumstances. For some, minimalism might mean living in a tiny home with just the essentials, while for others it could be about having a more spacious home but with only items that add value and joy. The common thread is the focus on simplicity and intentionality, creating space for the things that are most important in life. The first step in adopting a minimalist lifestyle is self-reflection. It involves asking oneself key questions like, what are my values? What brings me joy and fulfillment? What are my life goals? Understanding these aspects will guide the process of deciding what to keep and what to let go of. This self-reflection sets the foundation for a more mindful and intentional approach to minimalism. Decluttering. The most tangible aspect of minimalism is decluttering, the process of removing unnecessary items from our living spaces. A practical way to start decluttering is by tackling one room or area at a time. This avoids the overwhelm that can come with trying to declutter your entire space at once. Items can be categorized into things to keep, donate, sell, or throw away. Quality over quantity. Minimalism also advocates for choosing quality over quantity. It encourages investing in fewer but better quality items that will last longer, rather than accumulating many low-quality items that quickly become clutter. This not only reduces waste, but also ensures a more sustainable and economical lifestyle in the long run. Digital minimalism. In our digital age, minimalism extends beyond physical possessions to include our digital lives. Digital minimalism involves decluttering and organizing digital spaces like email inboxes, digital files, and social media accounts. It's about being selective with the digital content we consume and engage with, ensuring that our digital interactions are purposeful and add value to our lives. Time and commitment management. Minimalism is not just about physical and digital spaces, it's also about how we manage our time and commitments. It involves saying no to unnecessary commitments and focusing on activities that align with our values and bring us joy. This might mean setting boundaries, such as limiting work hours, or being selective about social engagements. Financial minimalism. Financial minimalism involves simplifying one's financial life. This can mean budgeting and cutting unnecessary expenses, focusing on paying off debts, and investing in experiences rather than things. It's about making financial decisions that support a minimalist lifestyle and help achieve long-term financial goals. Experiences over possessions. A key aspect of minimalism is valuing experiences over possessions. This means prioritizing activities that create memories and foster personal growth, such as travel, learning new skills, or spending quality time with loved ones. This shift from material possessions to life experiences often leads to greater long-term happiness and fulfillment. Relationships and minimalism. Minimalism also applies to relationships. It encourages nurturing deep, meaningful connections rather than maintaining numerous superficial relationships. This might involve investing more time and energy in a few close relationships, leading to richer and more fulfilling interactions. Continuous process. Adopting a minimalist lifestyle is a continuous process, not a one-time event. It involves regular reflection and adjustment to ensure that your lifestyle remains aligned with your values and goals. This ongoing process helps maintain a balance between simplicity and the complexities of modern life. Overcoming challenges. Embracing minimalism can come with its challenges, such as societal pressure to conform to consumerist norms or the emotional difficulty of letting go of possessions. Overcoming these challenges requires patience, persistence, and a strong conviction in the benefits of a minimalist lifestyle. The reward for adopting minimalism is a more fulfilling life, one that is less cluttered, less stressful, and more aligned with one's values and aspirations. It's about creating space, both physical and mental, for what truly enriches our lives, leading to a deeper sense of contentment and well-being. In this comprehensive exploration of minimalism, we've journeyed through the rich tapestry of its history, philosophy, and practical application, uncovering the profound impact this lifestyle can have on our lives. We delved into the historical roots of minimalism, tracing it back to ancient civilizations and religious teachings, and discovered how its principles have been echoed by various cultures and thinkers across time. This historical perspective provided a solid foundation, revealing minimalism as a timeless philosophy rather than a contemporary trend. We then examined the minimalist perspectives of influential philosophers, from the Eastern teachings of Buddhism and Taoism to the Western philosophies of Diogenes, Epicurus, and Thoreau. Their insights highlighted the enduring relevance of simplicity in life. In contemporary thought, we discussed modern interpretations and critiques of minimalism, expanding our understanding of its application in today's world, especially in the digital realm. The psychological relationship we have with our possessions was another critical area we explored. We uncovered why we form emotional attachments to items and the impact of clutter and excessive possessions on our well-being. This understanding paved the way to discuss minimalism in practice, emphasizing that it's a personalized approach defined by individual priorities and values. We shared practical tips on decluttering, adopting sustainable and ethical choices, managing time and commitments, and focusing on experiences over possessions. Throughout this journey, my personal reflections have only deepened my conviction in the power of minimalism to enhance our lives. By stripping away the non-essential, we make room for what truly brings us joy and fulfillment. Minimalism, in its essence, isn't about having less for the sake of less. It's about making space for more time, more peace, more clarity, and ultimately, more happiness. As we conclude, I encourage you to reflect on your own relationship with possessions. Assess how the principles of minimalism might bring a greater sense of purpose and fulfillment to your life. Consider experimenting with minimalist practices, be it through decluttering your space, focusing on meaningful relationships, or simply being more mindful of your consumption habits. Remember, the journey to minimalism isn't about deprivation. It's about enriching your life by paring it down to its most beautiful essentials. Let this be the start of a transformative journey, where each step towards simplicity is a step towards a more fulfilling life. Embrace the essence of minimalism and discover the profound joy and serenity it can bring to your world. As we move forward, let's remember the words of Leonardo da Vinci. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. In simplicity, we find sophistication, clarity, and a path to true happiness. Let this journey be one of discovery, growth, and lasting fulfillment.